Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for joining us on War with Iran. It is the sixth day of the Iran war, and today President Trump told ABC News he should personally be involved in choosing Iran's next supreme leader. Late today, Iran said that they have not requested talks to end the war. This comes as the U.S. and Israel have ramped up attacks targeting Iran's mobile missile launchers. Iran struck back, hitting an oil facility in Bahrain. Iran has also targeted an airport. Tonight, at least 15 countries are now involved in this conflict, and thousands of Americans are still trying to get home out of the Middle East. The first flight out of Dubai landed in New York City today. Our team is standing by throughout the region. First, our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, leads us off from Tel Aviv.
The US and Israel unleashing new waves of devastating attacks on Iran tonight, ramping up strikes against the regime. And late today, President Trump saying the operation is far ahead of schedule.
We're destroying more of Iran's missiles and drone capability every single hour, knocking them out like nobody thought was possible.
The president urging regime change and telling our John Carl that he should have a role in picking Iran's next supreme leader, and saying the Ayatollah Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, is not an acceptable option.
I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military and the police, to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country.
And tonight, Secretary Pete Hegseth saying the amount of firepower over Iran is about to surge dramatically.
Iran is hoping that we cannot sustain this, which is a really bad miscalculation for the IRGC in Iran.
Israel releasing video of a mid-air dogfight over Iran. The IDF saying an Israeli F-35 stealth fighter shot down an Iranian warplane, marking the first ever confirmed air-to-air takedown by an F-35. US B-52 bombers striking Iranian ballistic missile and command and control facilities. And tonight, the war widening. Israel fighting on two fronts, striking Iran and Lebanon, pounding Beirut. Our Matt Rivers is there.
It sounds like incoming. Yeah, there's the explosion, series of explosions there. That's the latest Israeli airstrike. Hundreds of thousands of people were warned by the Israeli military to evacuate from there earlier today in advance of those airstrikes that we just heard.
But Iran's still striking back, today releasing video claiming to show the launch of a missile with multiple warheads. Dramatic video posted online capturing massive explosions as Iranian missiles slammed into an oil refinery in Bahrain. Air defense systems firing, but missing the missiles. No injuries reported. And for the first time since this war erupted, Azerbaijan says it was targeted by two Iranian drones, one landing near a school. Another hitting an airport, causing injuries. Iran denies attacking the country. And with more US troops heading to the region, a new warning from Iran tonight, saying thousands will be killed if the US dares launch a ground offensive. One Iranian official saying, "We're waiting for you." Thousands of Americans still struggling to escape the war-torn region. The first direct flight from Dubai arriving in New York today. The State Department confirming the first charter flights took off, and they're surging additional flights and ground transport to help get Americans out. 25,000 flights have been cancelled since the war began. Officials say at least 20,000 Americans have already returned to the US since Saturday. At least 10,000 helped by the task force.
Then the war started.
Ryan Rivera Cabrera, a college student from Boston, was trapped in Dubai after the war broke out, telling ABC News the US government did very little to help him.
Really, every time we contact a federal resource, it would just say to shelter in place and, aim to find a commercial flight.
Cabrera saying he didn't feel safe until he landed in New York today.
I didn't feel relief until the wheels started running on the floor just a few hours ago. That's when I finally was able to take a sigh of, relief.
We saw a lot of missiles.
Charles Lowe from New Jersey, also on that flight back to the US, saying he saw missiles flying over his head in Dubai.
It's not usual to have missiles intercepted above your head.
How difficult was it to get a flight out of there?
Impossible.
All Our thanks to Ian Pannell. Today, President Trump insisted that he must approve Iran's next supreme leader. He made that statement in a phone conversation with our John Carl, where he also spoke about how he felt the war was going. Here's Jonathan Carl.
Tonight, that extraordinary declaration. President Trump telling me that he must be the one to approve the next leader of Iran. We don't want them to put anybody in there unless it is approved by us. The president told me he wants to ensure a future U.S. president doesn't face a hostile Iran. We don't want some president in 10 years to get stuck with this problem and not know what to do with it. In a lengthy phone conversation, Trump sounded triumphant, telling me, quote, "They are calling me the GOAT, greatest of all time." Referring to the war on Iran, Trump asked, "How do you like the performance? I mean, Venezuela is obvious. This might be even better." As for how long the war will last, the president said, "Well, there are many people who say it's already over. It's not over to me. It's over when I want it to be."
Our thanks to John Carl. ABC News has also learned that more than a dozen Iranian underground missile bases have been hit since the start of the war. And as the conflict goes on, there are concerns over how much this war will actually cost American taxpayers. Our chief global affairs anchor, Martha Raddatz, is in the region with the details.
Tonight, the U.S. and Israel pummeling Iranian missile bases deep underground. ABC News verifying that 13 of the underground facilities have been damaged or destroyed. The Israeli Army Chief of Staff claiming 60% of the launchers have now been taken out. But for American taxpayers, it's coming with a steep price tag. One estimate by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a bipartisan think tank, puts the cost at $3.7 billion for the first 100 hours alone. That's more than $891 million per day. The Pentagon's top policy official, however, unable or unwilling to put a price tag on the war when pressed by members of Congress.
Okay, and what about cost? Can you say how much this will cost the American people?
I'll get back to you, ma'am. I can't give you an answer at this point.
But even though costly, late today, the Pentagon making the case that it's working, and there has been a major drop in retaliatory strikes by Iran.
Ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one. Drone attacks have decreased by 83% since day one.
6 American soldiers have been killed so far in this war, including 2 just identified, 45-year-old Major Jeffrey O'Brien from Iowa and 54-year-old Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzan from California. They were killed in a drone strike at a tactical operations center in Kuwait.
Our thanks to Martha for that. Coming up, thousands of Americans stuck in the crosshairs of war, but are there any efforts underway to get them home? Stay with us. As the war with Iran continues, the State Department is scrambling to help tens of thousands of stranded Americans whose efforts to leave the region have been impeded by flight cancellations and airstrikes. Our Marcus Moore reports from Qatar tonight.
You can hear the siren behind me.
Amidst the hail of drone strikes and the wail of sirens, Alyssa Ramos is desperately seeking a way out of Kuwait.
We're doing everything we can to get a land border crossing out of here because the missiles and drones keep attacking.
The American travel expert seeing smoke and watching missile interceptors from her hotel window. She's been documenting this new war since her arrival while simultaneously looking for an escape route.
We are finally evacuating Kuwait on our own terms by land. The government has not helped us at all.
The Kuwait airport shut down after a drone strike. Stories like hers adding increasing pressure to get the government to help.
We have seen the government's post today telling all Americans to evacuate on their own. I can hear the missiles overhead already.
U.S. embassies and consulates coming under attack and Americans stranded across the region.
But escaping has not been easy.
Even cruise ships in the region are forced to wait out the conflict for now. Traveling home from a business trip in India, Ryan Blackman was on the last leg of his journey home to Dallas when he realized his flight was being diverted.
Saw some breaking news that Iranian airspace would be restricted. My initial reaction was probably land, refuel, find a different route, maybe head west. And then, 4 or 5 days later, still in Doha.
With few choices, he says staying put seems the safest option for him. What have you done to try to find a way out?
Right now, what I've heard is there are individuals that are taking buses or ground transportation to Riyadh or other locations in the region, or kind of sitting tight in Doha is kind of one of two options. My current feeling is I feel safe in Doha.
In the Oval Office, the president faced with tough questions.
Why wasn't there an evacuation plan, and will you send planes to get people out?
Well, because it happened all very quickly.
Not long after that back and forth, the State Department announced it was looking at military aircraft and chartered flights for Americans trapped in the Middle East.
It all starts by knowing that where you are and how we can get a hold of you.
The White House later seeming to place blame on the Americans who are still stranded in the region.
The Secretary of State issued level 4 travel advisories dating back to January for many of these countries in the region. Again, I just laid out for you that there have been plans in place and that the State Department has been very clear to the American people traveling within this region not to travel to these regions. We gave notices to leave immediately.
So far, the government says 17,500 Americans have returned from the region, with at least 14 countries now caught in the crosshairs. Many more Americans are left to get out, mostly on their own. This map showing the blackout of air travel, with airstrikes the biggest concern.
I had the best trip of my life before the worst trip of my life.
On his way home from a wedding in India, Oliver Sims changed planes in Doha, Qatar. The connection and takeoff seemed to go smoothly enough.
An hour and a half into the flight, I got a notification that said that the U.S. And Israel had started airstrikes on Iran. We had to turn back around to go to Doha. I think it was 12:30 in the morning. A bunch of airport staff rushed into the lounge and they told us to evacuate the airport. People had started reporting that the Kuwait's airport and Dubai's airport were getting hit.
Dramatic videos posted online show the explosions and rocket intercepts inside Qatar and over its skies.
So I'm just constantly in a state of fear, and any type of noise or thud that I hear, I'm like, is that an explosion? Is that a missile?
Some travelers got creative in attempts to leave the region. Our Brett Clinnett spoke with one American who was desperately trying to get home to Nashville, Tennessee to her children via Hong Kong.
Okay, and you just came in from Dubai, the first flight in several days from Dubai. How do you feel right now?
So relieved.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It must have been quite an ordeal for you.
Just something you never think you're going to see.
You obviously contacted the embassy. Did you get any help?
Zero help. Zero help from the embassy.
Got prayer beads.
Alyssa and her friends were able to hire a car and drive to Saudi Arabia.
We made it! We are passing the Riyadh airport.
Not feeling super confident about this flight taking off. The airport's pretty empty.
After days of waiting, Alyssa eventually made it to Egypt, where she is one step closer to safety. The gravity of the war in this moment is not lost on Ryan in Doha.
It's very easy for us to be comfortable at home and take for granted many of the things that we can take for granted at home. And I think being thrust into the middle of a situation like this certainly gives you a heightened sense of awareness of just how much is happening outside of your space.
And while Ryan waits for safe passage home from Doha, his thoughts are with his wife and children.
What is that moment going to be like when you see your wife and those little kiddos?
It's going to feel good. Yeah, it's going to feel good. Yeah, I think you might have hit a little bit of an emotional chord with me, because I probably put that a little bit in the back of my head, but it'll certainly feel good.
Our thanks to Marcus. The State Department is encouraging Americans to call the hotline that you see at the bottom of your screen for help. The Lebanese government is warning the people of Beirut to take shelter as more Israeli attacks are imminent. The Lebanese Ministry of Public Health says at least 123 people have been killed and 683 others have been wounded by Israeli attacks in Lebanon since Monday. The UN Refugee Agency says at least 30,000 people have been displaced. Now, World Central Kitchen's working to provide hot meals and clean water. Earlier today, ABC News Live anchor Diane Macedo spoke with the chef in Lebanon from her car because minutes before the interview, she learned she needed to evacuate.
And the Lebanese government's warning the people of Beirut to take shelter as more Israeli attacks are imminent. The Lebanese Ministry of Public Health says at least 77 people have been killed and 527 others have been wounded by Israeli attacks in Lebanon since Monday. The UN Refugee Agency says at least 30,000 people have been displaced. The IDF says it's targeting Hezbollah strongholds and has ordered evacuations to all civilians in southern Lebanon. Now, World Central Kitchen's working to provide hot meals and clean water for displaced families. And World Central Kitchen chef Helene Kamakian is in Beirut with the latest on her team's operations and the developing situation there. Helene, thanks so much for coming on. I understand you're evacuating right now. Can you tell me what's happening?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Since the latest warning to evacuate, the traffic is tremendous going out of the suburbs of Beirut. So the highway is like a parking lot. Everybody's trying to get out of it. A lot of people walking, a lot of people with cars, so that everybody's evacuating the suburbs right now.
What were you seeing there in Lebanon before you had to evacuate just now?
Since Sunday, since the latest attacks that is going on in the south of Beirut, we've been feeding people. People are fleeing the south, and there is estimated more than 1 million people who fled and coming towards Beirut. The government opened the governmental schools to get it as shelters, and all the shelters are filled right now. The basic needs is extremely needed. World Central Kitchen is feeding thousands and thousands of people. We're giving hot meals every day. We have right now 7 kitchens, and every day we're increasing our capacities and following all the internally displaced people. We were distributing food right now, and when we had the warnings, and we're trying to help people to get out of the places. Even some shelters are being evacuated because it's a bit near of the suburbs, and we're trying to find location for all these people because you cannot imagine how much there is people fleeing and there is no space to be able to gather them.
And walk us through all the things World Central Kitchen is doing to help these displaced people.
World Central Kitchen is always there for people who need. This is what we know how to do. We cook for people. We distribute food. We're distributing more than thousands and thousands of meal every day. We're doing our utmost capacity to be able to arrive to every single one. We are cooking with different kitchens, with chefs, with volunteers, to be able to be distributing the hot meals for these people. Since the war started, since October 17 of 2024, we've been cooking. We were in the south. Right now, we're following everything happening, and we are increasing every day according to the needs, but the need is extremely high.
How much coordination is there between World Central Kitchen and the Lebanese government, and how does that work?
We are in total coordination. The Lebanese government tells us that there is the shelter that they open, and we go to the shelters for us to be able to give the food. There is coordination with the Lebanese government. There is coordination with all INGOs, so that we don't give the same shelter twice or 3 times. So the NGOs and the government and the municipalities are dividing the tasks so that we all can together be able to help all these people.
What are your biggest concerns as this war intensifies?
Time is very important. We cannot sustain long time. There is not enough. There's not enough food. There's not enough water. There is no shelters. There's no. We cannot sustain like this. Right now, I estimated 1 million people. With today's warning, I don't know where we're gonna go. It is impossible to be able to. Impossible. Cannot handle everyone who's coming. All NGO, municipalities, World Central Kitchen, everyone cannot handle what's going on. It's the biggest that we ever seen since 1980s.
All right, Aline Kamakian, we appreciate your time today and all the work you're doing. Good luck to you and stay safe. Thank you.
Our thanks to Diane and the World Central Kitchen for that. Coming up, the war anxiety is real, but what can you do about it? Our Dr. Darian Sutton gives us tips when we return. Staying up to date with everything happening in the Middle East could be stressful and anxiety-inducing. So what can you do? ABC's Alex Brachet spoke to ABC News medical correspondent Dr. Darian Sutton on tips to help you cope.
Dr. Sutton, I guess first off, what are the symptoms of war anxiety and how does it show up?
Well, Alex, that fear and war anxiety is something that collectively we probably all have experienced at some level. It's that response from your body in terms of seeing those graphic images, armed conflicts. And although our brain thoughts are quite complex, the way our brains respond to these events is quite simple. Your brain is in fear mode. It thinks you're running away from a predator. That's why you might feel palpitations, shortness of breath, sometimes problems with digestion. Aside from that, you might have sleep disruptions. When talking to your children and when even talking to yourself, it's best to take a step back and apply a simple approach. Experts advise choosing time periods in the day where you're going to update yourself with information, muting app notifications, and even turning off your phone in certain parts if you're feeling overwhelmed. And when talking to children, keeping it as simple as possible is important. Ask specifically what they've heard and what emotions are associated with that. Help understand and answer those questions with age-appropriate responses. Avoid stigmatizing certain groups with words like evil people or bad guys. Sometimes that can make things worse. And remind them about who's helping. Remind them about safety. But most importantly, Alex, continue to check in. This is an ongoing problem, unfortunately, and children will feel the safest when that line of communication remains open.
Our thanks to Alex and Dr. Sutton. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Good night.